Rural cannot just be poor and marginalized, right? Our
Mm,
vision is to change the definition from poor and marginalized to cool and creative. We want people in rural communities to be confident and proud of the fact that they stay in communities. We want them
mm.
to use the resources they have to create unique stories for themselves, unique identity for themselves. So just picture a bamboo village, a village where you know when you get into this community, anything about bamboo to the highest form of creativity, you would find it in the village. That is an identity that changes the definition of poor from poor and marginalized to cool and creative.
Stick Your Neck Out, the weekly podcast of the Giraffe Heroes Foundation.
At age 23, Tony Joy started her journey in social development with organizing a cleanup exercise in over 8 states in Nigeria. It was 2015. That's when she discovered her love for waste. Tony realized that she could do more with waste. 1 year later, she went to Imafon, a rural community in Akure, Ondo State, and decided to spend her time with people who are treated like waste, poor and marginalized. Welcome to Stick Your Neck Out, the podcast to restore your faith in humanity. Today I have Tony Joy over the phone, so please excuse us if the audio quality is not as usual. I'm really glad the talk worked anyway, since Tony is sitting in Nigeria and I'm in Hamburg. I just hope it doesn't disturb your listening experience. My name is Jean-Pierre Aguiar Durañona. Tony, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Tony, you run a community-based organization in Nigeria, Durian. You are also a Kantari graduate. Like many Kantaris, you have a moving story. You are literally a survivor. Would you agree to tell us a bit on how you grew up and how did you feel once you became a teenager?
My background story is kind of filled with a lot of ups and downs. Like it's a mix of experiences for me. I lost my
Mm,
dad when I was 12, and my dad is like my soul. When I was growing up, he was like the only person I connected so much with because I had my own way of doing things. I was mostly
mm,
alone. I love creativity, and my dad understood that amongst every other person. So losing my dad was like losing everything that mattered the most to me. When I lost my dad, it's like everything became dark for me. I couldn't relate well with people. People didn't say positive things to me anymore. The only person who would say one positive thing to me at least every day is gone. My mom was struggling with the grief and everything, so she
mm,
didn't have all the time to take care of me. We are four in the family. The children are four. So she didn't have all the time to also look at me because it was a whole lot for her too. And so I crashed, like literally went into a zone where I felt frustrated. I hated living. I tried
mm,
committing suicide. I tried 2 times because I was tired of existing. And then added to that is the fact that people would tell me that I I am such a waste for so many reasons. Maybe because of the way I look, because I am close. I'm close to looking like a guy, like I'm a tomboy, or I was a
mm,
tomboy growing up, and so it's something that culturally here, it's not really accepted. And so people would say, "Oh, you're such a waste. Look at you. Your mother gave birth to a girl, and you're struggling to look like a guy." It was a whole lot of things. It was people telling me that I will amount into nothing. It was family members not believing in me. I hated leaving. I was tired of it. At 14, I tried. At 16 years, I tried again. I'm lucky to be alive because nothing happened to me through experiences I did. I think it was even
mm.
three. It was three. At 12, I was frustrated. At 14 and 16, and then after the experience at 16, I left home to start my own life because I felt like I needed to run away from everything. I wasn't sure of what was going to happen. I didn't know what life was going to look like if I run away from the people who I can call family.
And how did you suddenly begin to feel alive again?
It was hard, really, because it was when I was in the university, when I left home for the university, it was when I was in the university at some point I realized people would come to me and tell me that they want me to help them with something, so they would have experiences and then they would share it with me. I'm someone who is drowning in my own world, and but people saw something else. People saw someone who could help. People saw the positive part of me, And that was the thing that gave me hope. That was the thing that gave me the drive. Added to that was my experience with music and art. So I would play the drums and then art, dramas, and all of that. So gradually I found myself through that, and that was what gave me life, expressions, and opportunity to express my creativity.
You said when you were a child back home, you were told you are a waste. Ironically, you find meaning for your life again with waste. What a paradox, isn't it? Can you please describe the way you are dealing with waste in your community in Nigeria?
What I do in the community where we work now is we work with the rural waste, like the kind of local waste that they have. And like you said, yes, the waste in this context again is a metaphor, just like waste in my story is a metaphor. In this context, it's also kind of like a metaphor because we are using waste to empower people who are often treated like they're waste, people who are often marginalized. So, and because we want it to be very relatable, we work with waste that communities do have. Most of the communities that I work with here in Nigeria are farming communities. So they would have, for example, lots of cocoa pods from the production of cocoa. They would have cassava waste. They would have palm kernel. They have bamboo, a lot of bamboo that is not valued. So those are the things that we use as a tool to train people within the community. So for example, in the craft village, the Durian craft village that we're in right now, we train people on how to use bamboo to make different products like table, chairs, jewelries, all kinds of products. We also have the unit that creates the herbal black soap. It's the African black soap from the cocoa pod husk. We have a cassava processing unit so that after processing to gari, which is a local dish here, after processing it to the cassava flakes, we use the waste from the cassava as animal feed. And then we have a tailoring unit where fabric waste is used to make children clothes and other products. Finally, we have a very beautiful children learning space. So those are the kind of projects that we are doing within communities now. And
great.
The way it works is that we train and we create opportunities for people to get jobs also.
You called your organization Durian. This is also the name of a tropical fruit that is well known for its incredible penetrating smell, right?
Yes.
Why did you give your organization the name of this plant?
Yeah, sure. So durian is, like you said, is a fruit that stinks but tastes so good. Like it tastes so good, right? But the first experience you would have with durian is, it smells bad, right? But when you taste it, you have a different experience.
Yeah.
The same thing with waste. Waste is something that stinks, but when you give it the opportunity, it becomes a useful tool. The same thing with people in communities. There's an assumption that people in communities are poor, marginalized, undereducated, and all of that. But communities are beautiful. Rural is so cool. Rural is so cool and creative. And we are not even giving them the opportunity to express their creativity in their own way. And that is why durian is a symbol for us too. So don't judge before you get to us. Don't judge us by the smell. Don't judge us by the identity that has been created or by the bias or the whole story that has been created about rural and waste. Come and experience what rural is, and then you would sure tell that rural is so cool.
Yes, right. You have this motto, rural is cool. What's the story behind it?
The story is this. This is the story. Rural cannot just be poor and marginalized, right? Our vision is to change the definition from poor and marginalized to cool and creative. We want people in rural communities to be confident and proud of the fact that they stay in communities. We want them to use the resources they have to create unique stories for themselves, unique identity for themselves. So just picture a bamboo village, a village where when you get into this community, anything about bamboo to the highest form of creativity, you would find it in the village. That is an identity that changes the definition of poor from poor and marginalized to cool and creative. So that's where it's coming from. That's the inspiration. We want to change that definition. We want rural to become, I want to go to this community. That place is so cool and creative.
And how does Durian help the people in Nigeria exactly?
Okay, so it's in different phases, right? For example, if we're going to a community for the first time, a day for us would be doing community entrance, doing resource mapping, doing stakeholders meeting with the people in the community to understand the community, and then introducing the projects to them. And this takes like a while. It could be a month for all of these processes. But when all of these processes are established, then a day for us is we come and you meet a group of women in different groups, and there are different small offices, and they're small huts made from local materials, and they are doing something with the waste that I've identified. So we are training them on one craft or the other using the different waste that we've identified.
So you are using mostly bamboo, coconut, and trash. Do you have some examples how you can transform this item in something that has value? I've seen, for example, during the research that you were also building the headquarters of Durian with plastic bottles and wheels.
All the buildings that we have here are built with a touch of waste materials. We have the hall that is set up with PET bottles. So we've so far used over 8,000 PET bottles and tires. We have two of that kind of building here. We have a building that is made with bamboo and mud. We have a building that is made with wood, like waste wood from the sawmills, because we have sawmills around us here. That's kind of the touch. We have a touch of waste on all the buildings that we have here. And why we are doing this is because we want people in the community to see that they can do something with what they have around them. You don't have to spend so much to live a comfortable life. So it shouldn't always be about the run for money. There's probably a time to start thinking about how about using what I have to create something unique for me and to, define who I am, my own kind of identity. The other part of it is that, so for example, with the bamboos, we make furniture, we make chairs and tables, anything we can get our hands to make. Like right now we are looking into cutlery. We want to try out forks and spoons. We already started doing it, but now we want to make it like really big. We're also recently researching into bamboo charcoal because of the challenge of tree felling. So we're losing a lot of trees in communities because of access to firewood and for cooking and all of that. But then if we could have bamboo charcoal, then of course we're trying to solving a problem also with that. Yes, and with the cocoa, we make soaps. Majorly, we make soaps and skincare products. So we use the husk when it's dried to make the soaps.
Tony, do you think that waste management and empowerment can get merit?
Definitely. It's the future. It's the future and it's the present, right? But what I'm saying is the future is this. We need to be very, very real. The resources we have, the question is, the resources we have, is it infinite? It's not infinite. It's finite. It's going to stop someday. We're not going to keep having those resources we have every day. See, right now we're talking about climate change and we're talking about, now we need to go back to some of the things that we were not doing and we should be doing, or we need to stop taking resources from the earth because it's causing this problem or that. We need to save the ocean. So right now we are talking about all of this, and in between all of this, there's a conversation around waste and waste management and resource management. So that we don't run out of resources, we need to manage when we produce. When we produce and it generates waste, we need to think of what we can do with the waste that's been generated from it. When we think about that, then we can also be thinking about economic empowerment for people. So there's this close relationship that can be brought within waste management, economic empowerment, solving problems, using waste as a tool to solve as many problems as possible. So you can use waste to build houses in villages for people who don't have houses, or it can be used as earthquake-resistant houses in different parts of the world where there's a crisis of earthquake and all of that. So waste is the future. Waste is the future. Waste is road. Waste is building. Waste is resource. Waste is biofuel, biogas. Come think of it. Everything has a touch of waste if we really think through it. So in the real sense, there's kind of nothing called waste. We call it waste because we've not thought through how to use it to solve further problems, and then so that we can save this planet. We need to save this planet.
Yeah, we need indeed. Do the people in the community accept it that you, being a girl, comes around and says, okay, we're going to do this different now? I mean, it was easy for you?
It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. And that's because there's a cultural thing around, it's a stereotype around women taking responsibility. It's a serious issue here. So it wasn't easy, but the thing with it is that persistence, being consistent, being diligent, showing up, hard work, all of that paid at the end of the day. So I think that was what really helped me through it all. The fact that I was showing up every day, even though they say no or they didn't believe. Because I remember when we started in 2016, we started and a group of women came, and after a couple of days, they left. So we're only left with about 5 people or thereabout, which was really sad. But right now,
Yeah, that's hard.
all of them who left are back. Or everybody who left in 2016, all of them are back right now. Yeah, so it's also a way of showing women that they can challenge stereotypes, right? They can break glass ceilings. They don't have to all sit back and say, oh, this has already been said about me. People would say different things about me. People would say different things about women, young girls, especially in communities where the stereotypes already exist. But we can pull through this. We can break this. We can break this standard that is becoming a normal that is being created by being consistent, persistent, showing up and showing up and doing the right thing. Showing up and doing the right thing.
That's great. So currently, due to the corona crisis, your team has a different washing machine cycle, I guess. How is this pandemic impacting your work, and what are you doing to counter it?
So because of the crisis, we had to stop our direct training for a while and go into responding to the crisis. So we did a lot of community work. We distributed lots of nose masks to people in the communities that would serve and other communities that we haven't reached out to before. We distributed a lot of nose masks. We created wash stations within 6 communities. We started this food gardens with women in communities. We started cassava processing as a response to the COVID crisis because during the COVID crisis, the prices of food went up and people couldn't afford food. So we decided to start processing food so that it is affordable for people within communities where we serve. We had a children place where because the children's schools were closed, so the children would come to the space and stay with us almost all day, learning different skills, including their academics. So these were the things that we were doing during this period. Also, we did a lot of sensitization because there was wrong information going out. There were people who were getting drunk because they heard that if you take a whole lot of alcohol, you are immune to the virus. Yes, and we reached out to like 7,000 people within the space of the crisis, especially when the crisis was at its peak here in Nigeria. So that's what we did during this period. And right now we're gradually getting back into activity, our usual trainings, gradually. But we are still very careful, like we still wash our hands and we encourage people to still do the same. We still use our nose masks, especially when we're in crowded places. So we are still being very safety conscious. But things are a lot more lighter now, because the lockdown was like very harsh on everybody, especially in the communities with access to food. Access to food was like a really big problem for almost everybody. Yeah.
What is your ideal of a Nigeria influenced by Durian?
Wow. It's going to be rural communities that are cool. Rural communities that have unique identities, maybe a solar village, a bamboo village, a cassava village, villages that are known for things that are unique, and they do it and do it well. Nigeria where rural is no longer poor and marginalized. This might take time, but we're ready to start setting the templates. We're ready to start working on the kind of pilots I want to see in the future. We're ready to work with as many stakeholders as possible to make this dream come true. We're already doing that gradually here, right? People are beginning to know this place as that creative place. The community itself is beginning to be known as that creative place where people create things from bamboo, cocoa, different things because of the work we are doing. So that's kind of like the Nigeria that we see influenced by Durian, where rural is cool. Like that's like the dream. Rural should be cool, like cool. Yeah, so that's the dream for us.
Thank you so much, Tony, for your time.
More thanks to you.
Tony Joy is the founder of Durian, an NGO which works on community development, women empowerment, and poverty alleviation, especially in remote areas of Nigeria. So, dear listeners, if you want to support or just know more about Tony and the work Durian is doing in Nigeria, visit their homepage durian.org.ng. Next week in Stick Your Neck Out, the podcast to restore your faith in humanity, I'm going to be talking with Mohammed El Garani, the Guantanamo Kid, also a commended giraffe hero. Mohammed was among the youngest prisoners in Guantanamo in my natal country, Cuba, abducted and rendered to the prison camp at just 14 years old. He was held there without charge or trial for 7 years, and you get to know more of his story with us. So, you'll find the Cantario Giraffe Hero Stories every Tuesday on Spotify, iTunes, our homepage, and every other place where you hear your podcast. Subscribe the podcast so you don't have to look out for us. We'll be coming to you. And if you'd like to tell us about your frontline hero, just visit us at giraffe-heroes.eu. My name is Jean-Pierre Aguiar Durañona, and I hope you join us also on our social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. But more important, I hope you join us again next week.
Stick Your Neck Out, the weekly podcast of the Giraffe Heroes Foundation.